How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about this crazy story coming out of Houston, Texas about Drag Queen Storytime. Now, this has been going on for quite a while. It faced a lawsuit previously. It was dismissed, unfortunately, because what's happening here is that you have fully grown men that are dressing as women or whatever other creature they want to identify as, reading books, stories, fables, or whatever to small children. You're talking about elementary school age, preschool age, maybe even babies. Now, their parents are there, of course, but it doesn't make it any better. I have a video that I want to roll and show you what's going on with the situation. You'll also see a group highlighted here called Mass Resistance. They are against the program, as they should, for a variety of reasons I'll get into in a moment. They discovered a shocking, to some, not to me, thing about one of the so-called drag queens that was involved with the program. After we get done with the video, I'll talk about what was said there. I'll give you my 2 cents, and then I wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Drag Queen Storytime is popular in Houston, but tonight it has a lot of people fired up. That's because of one of the presenters turned out to be a registered child sex offender. No one had looked into his real name. Lauren Tallarico has been following this story all day, and she joins us live tonight. Lauren.
Ron, the Houston Public Library isn't sugarcoating anything. They admit they messed up here and they've apologized. But the organization that brought this whole thing to our attention says they need a whole lot more than that. This is Alberto Garza, a registered child sex offender, convicted in 2008 for molesting an 8-year-old boy. This is also him, Tatiana Mala Nina, his drag queen alter ego. This is who's been reading to kids at Houston Public Libraries since last year.
Who exactly are the people who are using their stage names in the library? Because the public doesn't know who they are.
Tracy Shannon is with Mass Resistance, an organization dedicated to ending the Drag Queen Storytime program in Houston, saying it sends a harmful and sexual message. But Storytime organizers say it promotes tolerance and diversity.
Shame on these individuals in this building behind me.
Mass Resistance claims it's been asking the city for months to disclose information about the drag queens. And when requests went unanswered, they did their own digging and made the shocking link.
If they had done their job in due diligence, if they had said, wait, maybe not a good idea to have a sex offender who, at 200 pounds and 5'11", assaulted an 8-year-old boy.
A statement from the Houston Public Library says, in part, we failed to complete a background check as required by our own guidelines. We deeply regret this oversight. No participant is ever alone with children.
We are here today upset and concerned.
But protesters want more than apologies. They want heads to roll.
Most parents would not allow that individual to sit in this library, sashay in, and be held up as a role model to our children.
The library also says that it is taking action, making sure that everybody involved in their programs is background checked. They also say they have not gotten any complaints of inappropriate behavior. You can read the library's full statement on our website, khou.com.
Okay, you see that? You see what's going on now. There's a lot to unpack here, as the cool kids say, but let's start from the beginning about this program in general. Now, you have Houston's local government, I suppose, or the government of Texas sponsoring this because it's in the public library. Why would the government be sponsoring a thing like this? I mean, drag queens, before I even get into it, I'm not against anybody that's gay or that identifies with whatever they want to identify as. You can identify as a toaster, Thomas the Tank Engine, a Chinese finger trap, air, the moon. I don't care what you identify as. That's your business. That's all on you. But I have an issue when you're involving small children into a thing like this, especially when one of them is a sex offender who abused an 8-year-old boy. What are you thinking about when you allow 6 foot tall, 200-pound man that abused an 8-year-old boy around kids and also to be dressed as a woman? What are you thinking about? Where is the logic here? It makes zero sense. And aside from the local government in Houston or the general government or Texas. Let's talk about the parents, because the parents are right there bringing their children to the so-called Drag Queen Storytime. What are they thinking about? Maybe they're just trying to be inclusive.
I just want to expose them to things they don't get to see every day and want it to become the more normal and more accepted.
Maybe they don't want to be offensive to anybody. Maybe they just want to say, okay, I'm progressive. I'm all for inclusion and unity. I get that, but that's not the way to go about it, by endangering, because that's what's happening. You're endangering your children. You're also confusing them. I was seeing clips of this, and I was seeing some of the most just disturbed and puzzled and scared looks on some of these kids' faces. You got this big grown man with a tutu on, shaking his butt with a beard on. What are you thinking about when you bring that around children? The parents are ridiculous, ought to be ashamed of themselves, all in the name of inclusion. This is what liberalism does to you. It's a disease. You got your kids totally confused. Kids should not be around anything like this at all. They're too young, their brains can't handle it, and they have no real ability to object, because it's the parents bringing them around. If they want to get to an age where they can go out on their own and do things, and they want to be around something like that, and that's their business, because at that point they have more agency, they have more autonomy. But then when they're a small child, depending upon their parents for most things, and they're bringing them to a thing like this, you putting them into a whole world that they're not prepared for, that they should not be forced to be around. So I just don't really understand the reasoning behind it, aside from selfishness from the parents. But for now, I digress. Let's get back to the sex offender. Now, when I say they, I mean, was it the Drag Queen Storytime or the government in Houston? They apologized for this guy being there. They did not do a background check on this man. So that's why I say you're bringing your kids into danger. They didn't even do a background check. It probably wasn't going to be one from the beginning. They just said, oh, well, he's part of the LGBT community. He won't be a danger. I mean, just because you are part of a certain community does not mean that you are free from the ability to commit crime. Shouldn't you think about who you have around kids? I mean, if you have a teacher or anybody else like that, that's going to be around kids, really close to them, possibly touching them and stuff like that, not in extra kind of way, but touch on the shoulder. Shouldn't you at least do a background check? Maybe even a simple Google search to find who the person is. If Mass Resistance, the group that is against the Drag Queen Storytime, was able to find it, how did the government in Houston not find it? They didn't do it. They probably didn't think it was a need to do it, which is really ridiculous. This whole thing should be just totally abandoned. I'm sorry. I don't care about their parents wanting to be virtue signaling, wanting to be liberals, all this, that, and the third. That's fine, but don't involve your kids. Don't bring them through that. Really, this should be considered child abuse. Anything sexual like that, whether it's gay or straight, really shouldn't be brought upon kids. So that's why they have ratings with movies, R, PG-13 and stuff like that. You want to bring your small child straight into a confusing type of situation. The person looks like they're trying to relate to kids and be like a Pee Wee Herman, but you have a male in a tutu shaking his butt in front of kids who has a full beard. They're totally confused, not understanding what's going on. This program most certainly should be disbanded. It's a lot of perversion going on all throughout liberalism in government in general. Things like this should be a big highlight to display all the perversion and what happens when you're talking about liberalism to its logical conclusion. So that is pretty much all I got for it. What say you? Do you think that this program should be disbanded immediately? Not now, but right now. If so, why? I know why, but I just want to see your comments. And am I wrong here? Do you think that this program should be allowed to continue? I mean, if so, please explain to me why. What would the benefit be for the children? Honestly, the parents are saying it's about trying to introduce them to different things and have them be more inclusive. But you can be more inclusive or train your kids to be more inclusive by just socializing with other kids. They're small kids. They're young. When they meet other kids and they discover that they have different interests and things like that, that's how they're able to embrace diversity. Diversity is not just how you identify. If you identify as a pair of headphones or a toaster, it's not about that. It's about what they feel and believe on the inside. And I don't think bringing your child around sex offenders because of their identity really helps in the whole diversity and inclusion training you want to give to your kids. But I could be wrong. Whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.